Alright guys, today I'm going to weld a plastic sewer pipe together. I know it sounds really exciting, but it's just one of those things you have to do sometimes. Unless you like flooding on your property. A couple minutes ago I cut this section of pipe off of here. This is 15-inch Sherlock polyethylene pipe. And all I did is I'm going to use a coupler on the other pipe, so I had to leave a couple ribs. I had to leave a couple ribs showing on here to join onto the other pipe. And what I did is I went 0 and 180 degrees on the other side, and I measured from here on the other side 3 inches out. And that'll give me approximately 10 degrees. And whenever you rotate this piece, after you cut it off, you rotate it. You rotate it 180 degrees, what happens? I'll show you here. It doesn't have to be exact, but here it shows you a little bit better. See how it's straight there? Now if you flip this over 180 degrees, you get a 20-degree angle. It's a 10-degree angle, but it compounds itself at 180 degrees, so you have a 20-degree angle. And that's where I'm going to weld it at. The first thing I need to do is I have to drill some holes in here, some really small holes. I'm going to thread some wire on here just to support this piece until I start welding. This is wire that they use for tying rebar. It's nice because it's really soft and pliable, especially for tying, well, just tying things up temporarily until you get a more permanent setup. So I'm going to cut a piece of this here. Doesn't really matter, about 3 inches long maybe. And I had marked on here somewhere. Okay, that's I use this green band as a reference, this green stripe as a reference mark. And then approximately 180 degrees I have another mark. Where is it at? Right here. It's a Sharpie, so it's hard to show up, but it's there. Okay. I'm going to string that through. Just going to thread this wire. Through like that. And get that closed up inside as much as I can. I guess I could have cut that a little bit longer, but that's alright. You can actually twist the stuff by hand. It's not that bad to work with at all. So that's pretty good. Match that up as well as I can. Just tighten that up. Okay. Now this wire will be removed after I'm finished welding, so don't worry about the looks or interference or anything like that. Once you start welding on the inside, you can go ahead and remove this wire, and then it'll hold position. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this to the opposite side. Alright, so get this baby up here. There we go. Try to get my final position. And then join these wires together. I don't know if you've never worked with rebar wire. It's pretty easy to use, but it's quite a bit stiffer than, say, a bread bag wrapper, but it's or a twist tie, but it's still a lot. It's about the size of a coat hanger, but it's a lot softer. I'm going to trim a little bit off here. I got some interference. cut my hand off in the process, maybe. There. Just had a couple pieces sticking out there. Okay, that's good. Go ahead and tighten this up. You gotta be careful not to over tighten this material, because even though it is forgiving, it will snap in half. And it's a good idea too to always bend these ears around, because they're like needles, and that'll keep you from tearing your skin off your hand when you're positioning this. So I'm going to go ahead and do this on the sides too. Here we go. Now here's the inside. Here's the interface between the two pieces of pipe. There's like a 1/4 inch gap there, a little bit more. This one has no gap. This overlaps a little bit, and you can see it's actually a lot closer than I did with that 24-inch pipe. I did that with a sawzall and it wasn't good. I had a difficult time with that. Alright, now I'm going to collect some filler material for the welding. Now, one of the things that they tell you when you're welding is to find a filler material that's as close or identical to the base material as you can get. Now in this case I sawed off this end, the bell end of this 15-inch pipe, because I really had no way of pushing it on whenever I put it up into the culvert. Instead I'm going to use one of these ribbed couplings that has zip ties on it, and it goes overlaps 2 ribs on each end of the pipe, and then you zip tie in place and it holds everything together. These work, but you need quite a bit of pressure to get them to seal over the O-ring. So I don't have much room to work with here, so this is the best thing I found. Anyways, I'm going to cut this into strips, a bit like 1 inch, 1.5 inch wide bands, and then make my filler material for welding this. And that'll cover any gaps. I'm just going to use a sawzall here. Make sure you can see this. Maybe the easiest way to do this would be to run it through a bandsaw or something, but I'm just going to go ahead and continue with this. Yeah, that's definitely not the best way to cut that, but anyway, so here's my welding rod, as it were. Yeah, this will work fine. So the only thing I need to do now is remove this label from here and clean this with acetone to get any residue or anything that might be on here, dirt, whatever. It'll weld anyways, but it won't be as strong. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll start welding. Now as you can see here, I welded about 7 inches of material with not many problems. It's a little tricky up in here because it's not a real even lap, but I'll get it. I'm keeping the filler approximately 90 degrees to the base material. The rule I come up with this is keep it about right angles, and that will allow you to put some pressure straight down on the material. And if it's hot enough to bend, it's hot enough to bond. See how it's bonding there? Now you see here I got some base material falling away, and I don't want that. Okay, here you can see, here's the band I welded in. It's pretty substantial. You saw me welding about 3/4 of this last night until it got too dark to work on it, or for the camera to work, I mean. Okay, now that now that I have the inside welded, I'm going to go ahead and remove these wire clips. Remember to wipe stuff down with acetone. Make sure you didn't get any dirt on it or what have you. Only takes a minute. Same thing with your filler, quote-unquote filler rod. This is a new piece that I cut. This isn't from the same piece I cut yesterday. This is actually from a scrap piece of pipe. I cut this piece of band around like this. I cut the sawzall across. Came down and cut about half a pipe. So that's why it looks a little rounded. It works well. I've already cleaned this piece. This is what I'm going to be using. This is going to be a little bit different up here because I'm going to melt this and put it down. And as I melt it, I'm going to take my gloves and form it over this rib. And so it gives you a stronger bond. Of course, it'll just look better too. I'll go ahead and get this heated up. I changed back to my oval nozzle because I can get a better angle with the gun here today. It's starting to see, you're getting the bond line already. That's good. I want to melt all across here as I go. I want to get the sides too so I can push that down and get it to bond on the sides. Not quite enough yet. This is a little tricky. I could use a thinner piece of material, or narrower I should say. I like to get this as thin as possible. Another way you can do this too is just lay this down, like on the inside, and then go back and do the sides. Of course, then that way you have to reheat everything. It takes more time that way, but it's It looks better. But you can do it however you want. Okay, we're at the end of the line there. If you can see that or not, I'll move that up a little bit. And to cut this off, I typically just go a little bit past where I was, melt it off, pull it apart like taffy. Like that. And then what that does is that gives me a nice thin joint for the next time I need to start a weld. I need to go back and start bonding these sides, which you see it's not hot enough yet. Yeah, the bad part about this is you got to go from the outside. You can't heat the inside because it's down. It's in an inside corner. So just heat it through from the outside. Tell you what, I'm just going to do that side for now. It takes a while for the heat to go through that material. This is just the way that works for me. I'm sure there's other ways of doing this, but this is just a quick and easy way, cheapest way I could figure out how to do a quick modification. Now on this part I can actually get underneath the plastic and melt both of the materials. See how that goes together nice? Nice enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and do any other edges here I have. Now if you don't get enough pressure because you overheated the material up in this region and it just collapses, you can't get enough pressure like I did there by accident, you can lay this down and just push down on that for a few seconds and allow it to establish a bond. See what I did? Pressure is pretty critical on welding plastic. It doesn't just flow together like you get with when you're welding steel or aluminum. It's a whole different material, obviously, but it's a material with completely different characteristics. See how that looks like it's not bonding there? It's like it's plastic but it's not going together. Now watch what happens when you let it sit for a little bit. See that? Sometimes when you get plastic when it starts to run like that and it gets real, almost liquid-like, you put it together and it just pulls right apart like there's oil in between them. It's frustrating at first until you realize if you just hold them together for a while, they just start sticking. It's almost like it's a time thing. They need a certain amount of time of contact. Now I see I'm drifting off there, so I'm just going to pull this over because I'm not going to get much material on the other rib. It's all going to be on one side, and I want the material, the filler material, to cover over here. You see where it's overlapping? I need to have the fillet over here. Okay, it's starting to rain here a little bit, and I guess it's storming south of here, so I'm going to have to wrap this up fairly quickly. Real quickly. Once I can keep this plastic hot enough, the rain probably won't bother it much. I'm going to show you quickly how I terminate a weld. Okay, I'm going to put this on turbocharge. Lay that right down on there. Okay, well, that's pretty good. That's the final piece. I'm going to go ahead and layer this over here a little bit. Okay, it's raining pretty good. I'm under a big tree, so it's not too bad, but anyways, that's how I weld at least sewer pipe, and I imagine this would apply to really any other polyethylene welds like kayaks or well, that's the only examples I can think of now, but it's valuable to know how to fix something like that instead of throwing it out. Well, I wanted to explain the little thing that I had on the heat gun that I was using for welding in the video, and this little space gun contraption that I have. See, it was a lot prettier when I got done machining it. Now it has melted plastic and junk all over it, but anyways, I machined this over the weekend, and all it is an adapter for an off-the-shelf heat gun, Ace Hardware heat gun, and it slips onto the nose of this, and it has some vents here. There's 4 vents, so some of the heat can escape, so I don't burn this thing up. And there's a space between this and the inside of this to let some of the hot air escape, and then the rest of it comes out through here. And I got 2 set screws that hold it in place, and then 1 set screw that holds this in place, because I have a couple of other adapters for welding plastic that I made that work with this also. So I just wanted to show you that in case you were wondering what I was using when I was welding this piece of sewer pipe. Okay guys, thank you for watching the video on this little demonstration plastic welding. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. This is your basic run-of-the-mill, off-the-shelf, no frills, Ace Hardware heat gun. It has two heat settings. Okay. Okay, while I'm at it, I want to show you. So while I'm at it, I want to show you this heat gun and tell you about it. But I can't think what I was going to say next because of the dog. Anyways, so this.